What is going on, everybody? Back with another top 10 list, and today it's going to be my 10 favorite albums from 1992. Another great year. Very hard to put this together, but I got it narrowed down to 10. We'll give some honorable mentions after I say my number 2, as usual. Here we go. Starting off my list, at number 10 is Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism by Immortal. Really great Norwegian black metal band. This is their debut album. Has 7 songs on it. A couple of my favorites, I'd say, are Cryptic Winter Storms, Blacker Than Darkness, and probably Cold Winds of Funeral Dust, but pretty solid from start to finish. The lineup, you've got Armageddon on the drums. This was their only album with him. Demonaz on the guitar, and he does the lyrics for all of their albums. And, of course, Abath on vocals and bass. The sound of the album, this is definitely their darkest and most evil-sounding record. Don't think it's their best, though, but definitely the most evil-sounding. Very cool stuff if you like black metal. But, yeah, Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, number 10. Next up, at number 9, is The Crimson Idol by W.A.S.P. It's a bit of a different style than their previous releases, but still a lot of that good classic-sounding W.A.S.P. in there. It is a concept album. It's their longest album of all time, almost 58 minutes long. 10 songs. A couple of my favorites, I'd say, are Arena of Pleasure, Chainsaw Charlie, and The Great Misconceptions of Me, but very solid start to finish. Blackie Lawless, of course, on vocals. Amazing voice, one of my favorites of all time. He does some guitar playing, bass, keyboards on this album. Bruce Kulick is credited with playing guitar on it as well. Frankie Banali does some drumming, and a guy named Stet Holland, who has played on several W.A.S.P. albums, also drums on this. But very good album. I've seen some W.A.S.P. fans say that they only like the 80s material by them, which I don't get that because a ton of great albums all throughout their discography through the years. But really good album here, The Crimson Idol, number 9. Next up, at number 8, is Dehumanizer by Black Sabbath. Really good album, one of their heaviest of all time, I think. It is their last official album with Ronnie James Dio on the vocals, one of the best singers of all time, and Vinny Appice on the drums. They did, of course, release that album under the Heaven and Hell name in 2009, which a lot of fans consider to be a Black Sabbath album, but technically it's not. So, last official album with those two guys. Great stuff. Looking at the track listing, there are 10 songs. Some of my favorites: Computer God, probably TV Crimes for sure, and Time Machine. Very heavy, a lot of amazing riffs as usual from Tony Iommi, and of course Geezer Butler on the bass is great as usual. Yeah, just a really solid album. Dehumanizer, number 8. Coming in at number 7, I'm going to go with Domestic Booty by the band Anthem. Really great Japanese metal band, probably my second favorite from Japan. These guys, especially on this album and onward, the guitar playing is amazing by Akio Shimizu. One of my favorite guitar players, honestly. The tone, the riffs, the solos from this guy on this album and a lot of the other albums after this with him are amazing. The guy's ridiculous, but that's definitely the standout to me. This was produced by the same guy who produced Painkiller, Chris, Tsangridis or something. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but so a lot of people say this is like Painkiller 2.0. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that in some parts it sounds like Painkiller, but not quite as good. Still a very solid album nonetheless. Domestic Booty by Anthem, number 7. Reborn Dogs by Holy Moses comes in at number 6. Really great German thrash metal band. They have a lot of really good albums. This one for sure is one of my favorites. The guitar playing by Andy Klassen is awesome as usual. The vocals by Sabina Klassen are great. As always, her vocals got more brutal as time went on here. Really, it's basically thrash metal with death metal style vocals on top of it. Very cool stuff. Looking at the track listing, there's 11 songs. A couple of my favorites, I'd say, are Clash My Soul, Decapitated Mind, and the title track, but solid album, start to finish. Very cool stuff. Definitely recommend checking it out if you have not heard it. Reborn Dogs, number 6. Under the Influence by Wildside comes in at number 5. Really good album. It's their debut. If they had come out 5 years earlier, I think these guys would have been huge. They just came along a little bit too late. Their sound, if you're not familiar with them, is kind of similar to like Guns N' Roses, LA Guns, Spread Eagle, but maybe a bit heavier. Looking at these songs, a lot of good ones, but a couple of my favorites I'd say are Hang On Lucy, Heart and Soul, and So Far Away. But a very solid album from start to finish. Under the Influence, number 5. Taking the number 4 spot is the self-titled Loudness album. Really great, heavy, fast, aggressive stuff here. Definitely one of their best albums of all time, and that's really saying something because these guys have released 27 albums in their career, and most of them are good. I'd say all of their albums are at least pretty good, but this one definitely near the top. At this point, Akira Takasaki on the guitar, Munetaka Higuchi on the drums. They're only original members. They brought in a guy named Masaki Yamada, who was in EZO previously. Another pretty good Japanese metal band, but Loudness, the best Japanese metal band of all time. This album here, very good. Looking at this track listing, there's 10 songs. A lot of great stuff. Pray for the Dead, Slaughterhouse is awesome, Waking the Dead, Black Widow's good, Racing the Wind is really awesome, but very solid album. Definitely one of my favorites from them. Loudness, self-titled, number 4. The Ritual by Testament comes in at number 3. Really great album. Definitely one of my favorites from them of all time. I've seen it take some flack in the past, though, from some Testament fans because it's not as thrashy as their first couple of albums. Whatever, dude. Still heavy. Still great. Alex Skolnick and Eric Peterson are there, laying down great riffs and solos. Great tone from those guys. Chuck Billy, his voice sounds great as usual. Looking at the track listing, there's 11 songs. Some of my favorites are Electric Crown for sure. Amazing riff, one of my favorite songs of theirs of all time. Let Go of My World is great. The title track is, even though it's slower, it is very dark sounding, really good in my opinion. As the Seasons Gray, Agony, The Sermon. Return to Serenity is even pretty good, even though it's a little slower. So overall, I really dig this album. The Ritual, number 3. Coming in at number 2 is Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. Great album from a great band, and like a lot of the other popular metal bands, Iron Maiden, Metallica, whoever else, Pantera does have a group of people that like to hate on them. Wow, buddy, you're pretty cool. You don't like Pantera? That's awesome, man. But this album is great. There's 11 songs. A couple of my favorites, I gotta say, are A New Level for sure. Maybe my favorite Pantera song of all time. Hollow, the final track, is awesome. Effing Hostile, Mouth for War. This Love by Demons Be Driven is a great underrated song. Just a lot of classics on here. Dimebag Darrell, of course, is an amazing guitarist. He was one of the best of all time, in my opinion. Phil Anselmo on the vocals, Rex Brown on the bass, and Vinnie Paul on drums. Great lineup, great band, great album. Vulgar Display of Power, number 2. And I'll get through some honorable mentions real quick before I go to number 1, as usual. No particular order here, but I got a lot of them I'm going to run through. Evoke by Sabbath, great black thrash band from Japan, great stuff there. Fear of the Dark by Iron Maiden. March or Die by Motorhead. Forever Free by Saxon. Fire and Ice by Yngwie Malmsteen. Let's see what else we got here. Force of Habit by Exodus is a good album. The Incomplete by Obituary. The Law by Exhorter. Dirt by Alice in Chains. Final Revolution by the band Dead Chaplain is pretty good. The original Loudness vocalist band when he was out of there. But what else we got? Tapping the Vein by Sodom is great. Yeah, I think that's all I got for honorable mentions. But you see, there's so many amazing albums for each year. Hard to do these lists, people. But On to number 1. And of course, taking the number 1 spot is Countdown to Extinction by Megadeth. Amazing album, all killer, no filler. The lineup, of course, is great. Nick Menza, Marty Friedman, David Ellefson, and Dave Mustaine. Just looking at these songs, there's 11 tracks on it. Pretty much all amazing stuff. Ashes in Your Mouth, my favorite song on the album. The most thrashy song on the album, probably. Architecture of Aggression is a really great, somewhat overlooked track. Captive Honor, maybe the most underrated song on this album. Really good stuff. But all these songs are awesome. Amazing album. Countdown to Extinction, my favorite of 1992. You guys can let me know what you thought. Give me your ranking in the comments as usual. And until next time, thank you for watching.